Well, hello once again, Shining Light Baptist Church. Pastor Dawson here, and returning with another devotion on what Israel was to do after they were clean passed over. We're looking at encouragement for the COVID pandemic and how to get through all this and actually be encouraged. And so I've been sharing Joshua chapter 4 and Joshua chapter 3 with us. And we saw in our first devotion in regards to this subject matter, what was Israel to do after they were clean passed over Jordan. According to Joshua chapter 4, verses 1 through 6, they were to raise a monument. Raise a monument. What was that going to be? It was going to be 12 stones that they were to set for a marker, for a memorial, for a memory out of the Jordan River. And when they were clean passed over, they were to place those over on the other side as a marker, memorial, memory. They were to raise this monument. And then not only what they were supposed to do, then we also compared that to what we should do. We should have a memory, memorial, a marker of something that God did during this time of pandemic in our own lives, so that when our children in times past and others can ask and say, hey, what's going on with this COVID virus? What did you do? What did God do for you? We can have something to mark it by. But then point number 2 is this. They were supposed to raise this monument, but what was it for? It was for them to be ready for the moment. Notice in Joshua chapter 4 and verse number 6, the Bible reads as such: that this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, what mean ye by these stones? Then ye shall answer them. So they were to be ready for the moment when someone asks them what these stones meant. There would be children being born continuously, and the Jordan River would always be this sign where these stones were placed at as to what God did. They raised the monument, they set the marker, the memorial, they had the memory, but then they were ready for the moment when someone would ask them why this was there. And they were supposed to tell them what happened. Notice verse number 21. What happened? Verse 21 says this: and he spake unto the children of Israel, saying, when your children ask of their fathers in time come, saying, what mean these stones? Then ye shall let your children know, saying, Israel came over this Jordan on dry land. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of Jordan from before you, till you were passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us until we were gone over. So what mean ye by these stones? Or be ready for the moment. What did God do? What happened? God dried up the Jordan River so they could clean pass over, completely pass over from the old land to the new land, from the old life to the new life. God is doing the same thing for you and I. When did this happen? After 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. And so they were to make this monument or raise a monument and to be ready for the moment, according to verses 21 through 23 and verse number 6 as well. That is why they did this. They were to raise a monument, be ready for the moment. You and I have to do the same thing. There will be people in days to come, and they will ask, what happened during this pandemic? What happened during this virus? What did God do in your life? We should be able to show them, God did this, God did this, God did this, God did this. Why? It is God who is sustaining us through this pandemic. Maybe he raised you up from a sickness and you can share that with someone. Maybe he's given you the ability to homeschool your children when that's not what you normally did. And you can hold up a report card and say, hey, here's what God did for me. Maybe he stretched your food level a little bit more. Maybe he provided that ever elusive toilet paper to your family. Amen. Whatever it is that God has done, you should be ready to share that with someone else by raising a monument and being ready for the moment. What mean ye by these stones? They said that God dried up the Jordan River, and we were able to pass over on dry land, on dry ground. And how did God do it? Drying it up, completely passing them over, and then giving them the ability to raise a monument and to also be ready for the moment. I do trust that when this pandemic is done, you will have a monument raised and you will be ready for the moment, because someone will ask you what God has done. And you can tell them, first of all, what happened. Then second of all, you can tell them when it happened as well in your life and where you're at. Let's make sure as this time comes up, we keep our eyes open for those things that God is doing. We're almost getting to the point where we'll be clean passed over soon, and let God put it in your heart the ability to raise that monument and be ready for the moment. Reminds me of what we are encouraged to do in Peter. Be ready for the moment when someone asks you of the reason of the hope that's in you with meekness and fear. Children might ask, strangers might ask, but let's be ready. Till that time, let's make sure that we continue to keep our heads up, our eyes up on the Lord Jesus Christ, and our knees down until we meet again. God bless you and take care until we come back.